Ah, the 90s. A simpler time when the music was loud, fashion was unpredictable, and social media was a term yet to enter the collective human lexicon. While we've come a long way since, and the world has taken on a wholly different hue in many ways, what hasn't changed is that the 90s were just as awesome as today when it comes to legendary bikes that leave an impression on the world. Since the 90s served as a period of great innovation for numerous motorcycle manufacturers, these eventful years saw the production of some extraordinary bikes that redefined the very standards of design and performance. The superbike truly arrived in the 90s, providing us with high-speed thrills like we've never experienced before. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 iconic motorcycles that defined the 90s. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more awesome auto guides, and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you know when we publish a new video. So now let's cut to the chase. At 10, Suzuki Hayabusa GSX-R750, 1999. The decade that began with a bang sure ended on a high note too, with the release of the Suzuki Hayabusa GSX-R750. A polarizing bike that you either loved or hated, the Busa was undeniably one of the most significant bikes to be released in the 90s, one that transformed high-performing motorcycles forever. Equipped with a hearty 1298cc inline-4 engine that delivered 175 horses with 102 pound-feet of peak torque, this Suzuki beast redefined what superbikes could be capable of. The distinctive styling of the Hayabusa, inspired by the body armor and helmet worn by a samurai warrior in feudal Japan, protected the rider from the wind and thus helped the bike's aerodynamics too. Initially developed as the ultimate sport bike for public roads, the Hayabusa continues to be lauded as Suzuki's flagship model that offers unparalleled riding performance even today. At 9, Honda VFR-800 Interceptor, 1998. The Honda VFR-750F, a legendary bike in its own right, served as the quintessential ride for individuals who sought the perfect harmony of undemanding performance and smooth riding. In 1998, the existing 748cc liquid-cooled engine of the VFR-750F was replaced by an enlarged RC45 fuel-injected V4 781cc engine, and thus the VFR-800 was born. The bike also featured a new aluminum frame and a dual combined braking system that made it an excellent proposition as an everyday commuter that offered a sporty yet comfortable ride. The famous Interceptor tag also returned with the VFR-800 after being ominously absent for a few preceding years. Ultimately, this bad boy was one of those special bikes that was great for the road but could also hold its own on the racetrack. Although it was never really considered as a serious contender for the professional racing circuit, there is little doubt that the VFR-800 still remained firmly etched in the minds of bike enthusiasts for years to come. At 8, Yamaha YZF-R1 4XV, 1998. Thought by many to have been inspired by the Honda CBR900RR, the Yamaha YZF-R1 did offer all the thrills and excitement of its competitor, but it did so with a dash of additional power. Featuring a 998cc inline-4 engine that produced a staggering 148.8 horsepower and 79.9 pound-feet of torque, the bike could reach speeds of up to 172.2 miles per hour. The R1 also featured the world's first vertically stacked transmission, with a transmission output shaft mounted above the crankshaft, rejecting conventional wisdom of the time. Overall, the YZF-R1 was a perfect representation of marvelous engineering, dazzling performance, and great design language, all rolled into a neat package that rendered it as the lightest and most powerful motorcycle in its class. No wonder that the R1 is still considered by many as the Yamaha sport bike. Next up, at 7, Honda GL1500C Valkyrie, 1997. Okay, we realise that some might think of this as a contentious choice for this list. However, in the interest of keeping things comprehensive, we arrived at the conclusion that the Valkyrie's selection was more than warranted. There were quite a few cruisers released in the 90s that made people take notice, but we reckon there was hardly any like the Honda GL1500C Valkyrie. Armed with a massive Goldwing-derived 1520cc six-cylinder that produced 100 horsepower and 95.9 pound-feet of torque, This beast of a cruiser could hit speeds of up to 111.8 miles per hour. Despite its enormous size, the Valkyrie was relatively easy to maneuver and could cut corners pretty fast too. Also in a 90s cruiser bike market that was dominated by a certain motorcycle manufacturer who shall remain nameless, the Honda GL1500C served as a much-needed and viable alternative. And now at 6, Suzuki GSX-R750, 1996. Omnipresent in almost every rider's definitive list of legendary bikes, the Suzuki GSX-R750 will always be remembered as the 750cc bike that gave liter bikes a serious run for their money. Featuring an all-new lightweight twin-spar perimeter frame that kept the bike's dry weight to just under 395 pounds, the Gixxer had an impressive output of 128 horsepower with 60.7 pound-feet of torque at the 1000 RPM. This kind of power-to-rate ratio enabled it to reach speeds of up to 165 miles per hour, putting it in direct competition with the likes of the much higher-spec'd 1052cc Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11. Released at a lower price point than what most bikes of the same class cost at the time, the Suzuki GSX-R750 was rightly labelled by some as everyman's superbike. The Gixxer's iconic fairing, sweet exhaust note and vicious power curve only helped enrich its rightfully deserved legacy. And now at 5, Ducati 916, 1994. What can be said about the Ducati 916 that hasn't already been said before? Massimo Tamburini's beautiful masterpiece is arguably one of the best-looking motorcycles ever created. And while some may not agree with this, nobody can deny the style and raw aesthetic appeal of the Ducati 916. In fact, the bike literally helped change the design language of motorcycles as a whole, marking a shift from early, boxy designs to the flowering silhouettes that can be seen today. The fact that the 916's water-cooled Demos C4 916cc engine produced 114 horsepower with 66.3 pound torque meant that the bike not only looked the part, but also performed it with aplomb. No surprise then that the Ducati 916 helped riders Carl Foggy Fogarty and Troy Corser achieve a remarkable 4 Superbike World Championships through the 90s. Now next up at 4, Harley-Davidson FLSTF Fat Boy, 1994. Designed by Willie G. Davidson and Louis Netz in 1990, the Harley-Davidson FLSTF Fat Boy is arguably the best softail manufactured by the famous American motorcycle manufacturer. Notably featured in the Terminator 2 as the protagonist's choice steed, the Fat Boy was powered by a 1338cc air-cooled V-twin engine that could produce 67 horsepower and 71.5 pound-feet at 5,000 RPM. While it was always considered a stellar offering from Harley-Davidson since its launch in 1990, what made the 1994 iteration of the Fat Boy even better than its predecessors was the addition of a seamless exhaust, which did wonders for the overall look of the bike, giving it a much cleaner and sharper appearance. Considering the sheer impact this legendary cruiser had on pop culture, alongside the global recognition it received, the Fat Boy deserves to go down in the annals of motorcycling history as a true icon. At 3, Honda CBR900RR, 1992. In many ways, Honda laid down the template for modern superbikes with the CBR900RR Fireblade. Up until its introduction, sport bikes were thought to be only about raw power, with motorcycle manufacturers primarily chasing higher numbers each successive year. This changed when a certain designer from Honda's R&D department by the name of Tadeo Baba was charged with the development of the ultimate Honda superbike. Baba chose to focus on handling and power that riders would actually need on the streets, as compared to other sport bikes that were solely geared towards racetracks. His vision gave birth to the first RR dubbed bike from Honda, which also became the lightest and most compact bike in its class at just 408 pounds. In terms of performance, the 92 CBR900RR was no slouch either, with its 893cc liquid-cooled inline-4 engine capable of delivering up to 122 horsepower and 65 pound-foot torque at 10,000 RPM. Next up at 2, Yamaha FZR1000 EXUP, 1991. Since its inception in 1987, the FZR-1000 was regarded as one of the best Yamaha production sport bikes in the market, especially applauded by experts for its class-leading handling. The 1991 iteration of the bike brought in an innovation that would go on to become a staple for all future bikes in the same class: upside-down telescopic forks. Complemented by the super-stable aluminum Delta box frame, this relatively light bike with a dry weight of 460 pounds handled like a real beauty and still managed to pump out 145 horses and 78.8 pound-foot of torque at 10,000 RPM, reaching a top speed of 169.8 miles per hour. The forward tilt of the 1002cc inline-4 engine helped distribute weight perfectly, making the Yamaha FZR-1000 EXUP an exceptionally balanced bike, ideal for those who preferred ride stability over raw speed. And finally, at 1, Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11, 1990. In the world of motorcycles, the 90s began with a bang, heralded by the arrival of the iconic ZX-11. Labelled as the fastest bike in the world at the time with a record top speed of 176 miles per hour, this hulking monster featured a 1052cc inline-4 engine that could produce 145 horsepower and 80 pound-foot of peak torque. Redefining motorcycle performance by quite a margin, the heavyweight Ninja retained its spot as the fastest production motorcycle in the world for the coming 6 years, a clear testament to its greatness. For many, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11 almost exuded an in-your-face attitude that always seemed to proclaim, "I'm faster than you." And while that may indeed be the case, the Ninja did it all with unabashed bravado and panache. And there you have the top 10 iconic motorcycles that defined the 90s. Did you like what you saw? Let us know in the comments down below. Share this video with your motorcycle-loving friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fantastic auto guides. See you next time.